If you're heading out to fill up your car this morning, you might notice a little bit of a break at the pump. Prices are slightly lower. AAA says the national average for a gallon of regular is now less than $5, $4.96. That's down around 2 cents from yesterday. That said, many places around the country are still seeing prices above the $5 mark, but we could potentially see a little more relief soon from the federal government. For more on this, let's bring in NBC News White House correspondent Mike Memoli. Mike, good morning to you. So we know a federal gas tax holiday is now under consideration. So the big question, when might we get official word on that? And then if it happens, how soon after that could Americans see at least a little bit of relief at the pump?
Well, Joe, we heard President Biden discussing the possibility of this yesterday as he was taking a walk on the beach there in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. He said he's waiting for some data from his team and hopes to make a decision by the end of the week. Now, there are a couple steps in between that and between us actually seeing relief at the pump. First, this requires Congress to act. So if Congress passes this, then the president signs this, then Americans could quickly see savings of about 18 cents off the federal gas tax, bringing down the price of gas just a little bit. But then you will probably ask, what's the real question here? It seems like a no-brainer if you could provide relief at a time when these prices are at a record high. Well, the first is political, because what goes down must eventually go back up again, depending on how long they were to pass a suspension of the federal gas tax. Let's say the relief in oil prices is not coming through. Then there's really pressure to extend it. And that leads to the other big argument against doing this, which is the federal gas tax actually pays for things. Specifically, it funds infrastructure projects on the federal level. This is a White House that has been trying to celebrate the bipartisan infrastructure law that the president signed last fall. And so you're essentially robbing Peter to pay Paul here. You're taking some relief here for consumers in the gas tax, but you're potentially sacrificing much needed federal infrastructure projects.
So, Mike, we know last week President Biden wrote a letter to oil industry executives. He's calling on them to produce more crude in order to try and combat high prices. Those same executives were also invited to Washington by the energy secretary. So where do things stand? Will that meeting happen? And if so, what could come from it?
Yeah, we're expecting that meeting to take place Thursday. And it's really an interesting meeting when you think about this, because we know who the White House has really been blaming for the high price of gasoline. It's been Putin's price hike, right? The instability caused by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, leading to these higher prices. But increasingly, we're hearing the White House point the blame at energy companies as well. They're saying that the last time the crude oil price was this high, the actual price of gas at the pump was far lower. So essentially, they're accusing these oil companies of profiting on Russia's war and at the expense of the American consumer. You hear the president yesterday on the beach again talking about the fact that oil companies are not producing enough oil, that they have leases that they're not drilling on. They need to see more exploration, more drilling, more production of oil to get back to where they were pre-pandemic levels. All these things could help produce savings for the American consumer. Interestingly, the president said he would not be participating in this meeting, but let's see where things stand on Thursday. Maybe the president drops in. Sometimes this is what happens.
Speaking of things people spend money on, we know student loans are on the minds of millions of Americans. The president says he's nearing action on that front. Quickly here, what sort of options are on the table for the president?
Well, the deadline for a decision really here is August 31st. That's the last day of the moratorium the administration announced just a few months ago. This is really a number of cross-political pressures on this administration. Progressives, Chuck Schumer, the leader of the Senate, really have been pressing the president to forgive all student loan debt federal level. The president is really considering, according to our sources, about $10,000 in federal loan forgiveness. That would have potentially an income cap as well to only really help those at lower income levels. But there is political pressure, as I say, because there are a lot of Americans who have paid their student loans, who are paying their student tuition. And they say, why should others get a free ride when I'm essentially doing what I think is the right thing?
A lot of eyes on that decision right there. Mike Memoli, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.